Welcome back to the third episode of our webinar series. Today we'll be discussing calculating your carbon footprint, carbon dioxide equivalent and global warming potential. Once again, we're joined by Rob Bressler, who is a PECT associate and also an accredited carbon reporting manager. Take it away, Rob.
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, so in this webinar, we're just going to talk about a few different terms such as GWP, global warming potentials, and CO2e, which is the carbon dioxide equivalent. But first of all, I think it's always good to go back to kind of first principles on how we get to this and what all these terms mean relating to the greenhouse gas effect. So the greenhouse gas effect is effectively how heat is trapped within our own atmosphere and how that can gradually warm over time. So what happens is we have solar radiation coming from the sun that comes down to Earth, and some of that is absorbed by the Earth's surface and warms up. So when we have ice cover, we can actually get a lot more solar radiation reflected back out into space. And that also happens with cloud cover, which will reflect back some of this solar energy. However, where we have greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, and others, what these gases do is they actually trap that heat, they absorb that heat, and then radiate that heat back out slowly and contain it like a blanket around the Earth. So this is where we get the greenhouse gas effect, which causes global warming and climate change. So when it comes to carbon footprinting, it's important to think about all the different gases and all the different activities that you're undertaking that release carbon emissions. So a carbon footprint looks at the total amount of greenhouse gases produced directly and indirectly. So when we say directly, that's the emissions that you emit through the direct burning of fuels, or the things that the electricity you use that is produced by a power plant, a coal power plant, or whatever it may be. It isn't just carbon dioxide that's being released to the atmosphere when you're doing this. So when you're driving a vehicle, you'll have nitrous oxide being emitted. When you're generating organic waste, when that composts and break down, that will release methane. And each of these different gases have different potentials of warming the atmosphere. They will have their different weightings. So when it comes to doing a carbon footprint, we don't just use carbon dioxide, we use a carbon dioxide equivalent. And a carbon dioxide equivalent relates to the global warming potential of a given gas over a 100-year period. So I'll give some more information about that. So carbon dioxide is used as the kind of the benchmark. So when we're looking at footprinting, carbon dioxide has a value of 1, and carbon dioxide will stay in the atmosphere from anywhere between 20 to 200 years. Whereas something like methane, that will actually stay in the atmosphere for a shorter period of time, so only 12 years. However, it has the ability to absorb and radiate and trap carbon heat 28 times greater than carbon dioxide. Then you have other gases like nitrous oxide. So these can come from, like say, vehicle use, industrial processes, creating, using fertilizer. That has a far longer duration in the atmosphere. That can stay around for 120 years and it traps heat a lot greater. Then we have other gases as well. So things like F gases. So this can be things like CFCs, things that are found in fire suppression systems, your fridges and freezers, and even in healthcare. Some anesthetic gases have global warming potentials 2,000 times greater than carbon dioxide. So I'll put this in tabular form for you as well, just so you can see where these come from. But it's really important to understand, what gases you're emitting and where they're coming from. So making a small change in the leaks from your air conditioning units can have a far greater impact than some other smaller activities that you have. So it's very important to kind of look at all of these in the round. When it comes to carbon dioxide equivalents, when we do your carbon accounting, the tables that are produced from the likes of DEFRA BEIS or the Department of Net Zero as it is now, they actually have these weightings for you. So it's not too difficult. So if you're looking at the kilowatt hours of the energy that you're using, that will already be transferred into this CO2e, this carbon dioxide equivalent for you. In the same way, any tons of waste that you dispose of and the like, or any litres of fuel that you burn, they're already calculated into CO2e. So you don't need to worry about doing these sums yourself. Those are there for you. But it's an important thing to look at so you can actually have an idea of why some activities are more heavily polluting, if you like, than others. So hopefully that covers all the information there for you. Were there any questions on this, Danny?
Yes. So one of the questions is, for businesses that, for example, use heavy machinery or work in the manufacturing industry or frequently use refrigerants, what advice do you have for businesses that might feel like their business model is the core of their impact?
It's true that these businesses will be a greater net producer of these gases and emissions than others, but there's also a greater opportunity for them to make change. So even a minor change in F-gas use in a business like that can have a huge impact over the others. So it's even more pertinent for these businesses to do more. Those businesses that are doing large logistics, burning a lot of fuels, that is their business model, that they can't avoid it. However, like I say, small changes in those areas can really make a big difference. And transitioning over to more sustainable fuels, electrifying fleet. I mean, I don't know if it was on the news very recently. We've had the first sustainable aviation fuel flight, transatlantic flight that's happened. So there is a change in direction, and things will be getting better. So it's important to look at this in the whole from your own business, but also in those heavy industries. Really important to be looking at both your supply chain and your customer chain. There may be sort of some different business models that can be implemented that can really help with changing these things. Do you need to have your equipment manufactured in a foreign country and for it to be transferred over here? Can you manufacture certain things in the UK? Can you lightweight your packaging and your materials? Can you backhaul your equipment? So lots of things to look at that can make a very big difference.
Absolutely. I think that's really encouraging for businesses in those industries. Thank you very much for your time today, Rob.
Thanks, Danny. Bye.